Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I want to thank Andrea Watson for connecting us with Alexandria Lindo, with, what is your company name here? I'm sorry. Founder and creative director and lead designer with Stylist, allstylist.com. Alexandria is an accomplished invitation and stationery designer. Within 2 months of opening her invitation company, she was featured in her first magazine. She's a natural-born talent, and professionalism has been recognized around the world to include Boho Magazine, EA Bride Magazine, Style Me Pretty, Wedding Chics, E! Online, US Weekly, The Perfect Palette, and many more. After building a successful invitation and stationery company, her passion for events and interiors led her to follow her dreams and push the envelope. While devoting herself to her business full-time, she also served in the United States Air Force as a non-commissioned officer in charge of surgical unit. Serving in the military for over 13 years, she has developed a discipline and a deep passion for people. Her gift for organization, extreme attention to detail, creative imagination, concept design, and contagious enthusiasm have earned her a reputation for unparalleled excellence as an event and interior stylist. Alexandria, please go ahead.
Well, first off, thank you for having me. Thank you, Andrea, for getting the connection going and everything. So as you were stating, my whole introduction into the design world started about 5 years ago. Well, actually, it's been throughout my entire life, per se, but it officially started about 4 years ago when I did my wedding 5 years ago. And then after that, I was like, you know what, this was really pretty easy. And it was, I had so much passion in doing it. So I was like, okay, let's try to figure out how can I really get my hands into it. So like I was telling people before, what I initially did, all of the flowers that I created for my wedding were indeed fake flowers. So the fact that I had such a huge passion for it, it was as simple as putting it on Craigslist. Believe it or not, just putting it on Craigslist. And I had so many brides contacting me just saying, hey, I want to use the flowers that you have for your wedding. Can you design my wedding? And it just took off from there. Well, needless to say, being in the military, it wasn't working out for my schedule, so I ended up doing my last wedding back in New Orleans, and I actually did her invitations as well, and all of her guests was raving about the invitations. So on the 7.5-hour trip back to where I was living, I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to go ahead and start doing invitations. So from doing invitations, the last 3 years has really been a huge success for me. I mean, it's been overwhelming. Like you were saying, within my first 2 months, I was in my first magazine. I didn't have to pay anything, which, is crazy. I looked into a business planner, like someone who could try to help me along the way, and she was so intrigued with how successful everything just jumped off. Needless to say, our meeting didn't go that well. She was just like, okay, how can I, figure out different things? So it just made me really, really stay focused with doing event design and doing event invitations. So I had a daughter, and I started designing her first birthday party. After her first birthday party, took me back to event designing because that's what I originally started out as. So my key things when I design events, I try my best to really, really, truly focus on details. A lot of people are not for sure as to what we do as event designers. We're not event planners. We are truly the people that come in and from the ceiling to the floor decorate your space, whether it's a birthday party, a kid's party, a graduation, a wedding, a charity, a corporate event. Whatever it is, we are event designers. So we work with planners, we work with clients, we work with hotel coordinators, we work with so many people to pretty much transform their event space. So with that being said, there's a lot of things that we take into consideration, and I will discuss several of them with you all. And then at the end or throughout, you can go ahead and ask me questions. Feel free, make it candid as you want. So the first thing I want to get is the first slide. If you guys can look at the first, you can go over one more slide.
One more? Okay.
Yep, one more.
Yeah, just cue me.
So this is some stationery that we designed for our company, the Alexandria. All of the business side is Alexandria Lindo. So we have 3 parts of our business. We have stationery, invitations, then we have event design, and then we have interior styling, so residential properties and all of that. So with this, looking at this photo right here, some of the first things that I always tell my client is let me back up a little bit. The first thing you want to go with is obviously a budget. A lot of people don't understand how much money goes into an event. So I always go off, okay, how many guests do you have? Depending on your guest count, you want to, in your decor budget, you want to have about anywhere from $50 per guest to about $150 per guest. So that's what I always say, go with your budget. The most important thing other than the budget, I always want my clients to understand is your venue. Where are you going to have your event? And depending on where you're going to have your event, it's going to pretty much give the feel of what type of event you're going to have. So if you want to have it, let's go elaborate and say we're going to have it at the Ritz-Carlton. Then you have to work around, you're going to have something glam, something over the top. But then you have those clients who may want to have it in their backyard. So then you want to, so it just depends on the venue and how you want your guests to feel and the overall feel of the entire event. So the first thing I say is that stationery will always add a pop of glam to any table. Stationery will always add information for like charity events, corporate events. You always want to have that information for your guests to kind of have an idea on what's going on, whether it's a menu card, whether it's saying, register here, whether it's saying what your services offer. Just depending on what type of event, you always want to have, fabulous stationery.